So lately I am finding myself more drawn to nature than usual. I feel like I've been chasing down like sunrises and sunsets more than normal, or just like standing outside and just admiring like the moon and the stars. And I think there's just something about the season of life that I'm in right now that there's comfort in just like standing, I don't know, next to like open waters and just realizing how small I am, compared to just the grandeur of God. And, you know, or I don't know, looking at the moon and realizing like I am on a planet floating in space and like God's got it. He's like everything's in alignment and he's holding it in his hands, and like there's just a comfort in, I don't know, realizing how minuscule I am and how big God is. And so this morning I just like found myself being prompted to just spend time with Jesus at the dock, and just to go at sunrise and just kind of watch the sun come up. And so I'm trying to obey prompting, so I did, and I like was in my pajamas and I jumped in the car, and it was beautiful, but I found myself like in those moments like just taking deep breaths. And I know that I do that a lot, I'm sure like most of us do, but like when I just experience something that's really beautiful, it's just like I find myself just like I just want to take a really deep breath and like inhale and exhale slow, and just kind of just feel like you're taking it in, like you're absorbing it and soaking in the moment, I guess. So what was interesting is that when I was leading worship today, like I found that a lot of the songs that I picked, which I didn't do on purpose, had this theme of like breath in them. And, so I'm worshiping, but at the same time, I'm like processing like the theme and realizing that when God speaks to me, multiple times about the same thing, like there's always something bigger, so I was kind of like trying to figure it out even as I was singing. And so we're singing, Build My Life. And so it was the verse, Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you, And as I was thinking that, I was like, you know what, God? As many breaths as I'm going to have, and I don't know how many that will be, but as many breaths as I'm going to have in the rest of my life, like literally it would not be enough breaths to praise you and thank you for rescuing me, for what you have done. Like literally there are not enough breaths to say thank you for all of eternity. And that's what we will be doing for all of eternity, just like worshiping, because he's just worthy of infinite praise, And so it made me think about this video that I watched earlier in the week about the word Yahweh. And, I'm sure you guys have seen where like some Jewish people, maybe when they post on Facebook something about God, that they omit the O, and they just put like the dash or whatever. And like, years back, like I never understood why that was. And it was only recently I understood that it's out of respect for the word God and for the creator God to almost like to not say it, like saying it is almost like taking the name of the Lord in vain or something, I think, to that effect. And it's along those lines, Yahweh, when you spell Yahweh, you don't use the vowels. But the interesting thing about the word Yahweh is that the consonants in Yahweh are the only ones where if you're pronouncing it correctly, you don't have to use your lips or your tongue. And so there's like literally the way that it's pronounced is supposed to replicate breath, so that when you're saying Yahweh, even just with the consonants, that it's like, right? And so like the fascinating thing about that is that, number one, literally when you exit the womb, your first word on your lips is Yahweh, is God, right? Just by your first breath is right. And then the last word on your lips before you die, whether you realize it or not, even whatever state you're in, is going to be the name of God, Yahweh, which is just so incredibly beautiful. But then to think about the fact that like everybody on the planet who is breathing, with every breath, is glorifying God, the creator, Yahweh, whether they realize it or not, just by the very nature of breathing. Like by breathing, you are, like I said, intentionally or not, giving glory to the creator and the one who made breath itself, which is wild. In the same way that, you know, like a sunset or, you know, a moon in the sky glorifies God. But the difference is that when you realize where the breath comes from, you are able to join in the glory. Like you're able to join in the celebration. So instead of it just being like just a common gift of grace that everybody can breathe, instead of you being somebody who's like takes breath for granted as like, well, it's an accident and I don't even know why I'm breathing. Like when you realize like God is the creator of it, like you can actually see every breath as a gift, you know? You could see every sunrise and sunset as a gift. Like it's all part of nature proclaiming the glory of God, even with our very breath. So I was like, so, you know, when you just get those revelations, like, man, my God, you're the coolest. I love him so much. And so anyway, I just wanted to share that because I felt like it was just a cool way to consider, like, every time you see something beautiful or you experience God in some way, like even in the very like inhale, exhale, you're giving him glory and like he's somehow just like being attached to the beautiful thing, you know, whether you realize it or not. So I just thought that was worth sharing. I hope you guys thought so too. And I'm praying for like lots of moments this week where you have to inhale and exhale deeply. And when you do, when you have a beautiful moment, that you would just celebrate God's goodness and beauty in it. So have a great week. Love you guys.